You know, when a former president speaks, people tend to listen. But what happens when they claim their most crucial advice was completely ignored? Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful speech from former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta. He's reflecting on the 2022 election and what he sees as some pretty dire consequences for the nation. So, let's get right into it.
It all kicks off with this one, stark statement. Speaking at a party conference, Kenyatta, well, he did not mince words. He basically laid out this whole case that he had offered the country a serious warning, one based on his actual years of experience as its leader, but that in the end, that warning was just rejected.
And this really leaves us with two big questions, right? First off, what exactly was this counsel he tried to give? And second, what powerful forces does he believe just drowned out his message, leading the country down a path he had specifically warned them against? Okay, so to really get where he's coming from, we have to look at the warning itself. The way he frames it, this wasn't just about a simple political preference. Nope. This was about hard-earned wisdom that he felt he had to share with the Kenyan people. See, for Kenyatta, this is all about governance, not just politics as usual. He claims his advice was rooted in a really core principle that a leader has to build on past successes and, just as importantly, learn from the mistakes. This was the experience-based message he was trying to pass along.
So what does Kenyatta think happened because that message was ignored? Well, he paints a pretty grim picture of the present, and he directly links the choices made at the ballot box to the struggles he sees happening in the country today. In his view, the country's current path is just a series of risky experiments and untested schemes. And he argues that while the nation is sort of holding its breath to see if they'll pay off, real people are suffering, and the progress his administration made is actually being undone. And look, this isn't just him criticizing new policies. This is a claim that his own legacy is being actively wiped away. He presents this really stark contrast between two very, very different philosophies on how to run a country.
So here you can really see the two philosophies laid bare. On one side, you've got Kenyatta's approach, learn from the past, build on what's already working, and focus on tangible progress. But on the other side is how he describes the current administration, ignoring past mistakes, throwing in these untested schemes, and prioritizing rhetoric over real, actual advancement.
And this, for me, brings us to the most fascinating part of his whole argument. Why? Why does he believe his message just didn't connect with voters? He doesn't actually blame the message itself. Instead, he points a finger at the political environment it was delivered in. He argues that his experienced advice was deliberately drowned out by what he calls a storm of political noise. He's describing a campaign that wasn't about debating policy, but was filled with personal attacks, myths, and these powerful narratives that he feels just obscured the truth. So let's break down what he actually means by this noise. He points to pink sounds, which is a term for kind of superficial or distracting political messaging. He also calls out character assassinations, the spreading of myths, and of course, the powerful talk about political dynasties. And then he mentions asuras, a term from Hinduism that was used to frame political rivals as something demonic or evil, which he believes just totally dominated the conversation. So to pull it all together, Uhuru Kenyatta's argument is basically this. He offered guidance that came from years of experience, but it got lost in this thick fog of political attacks and storytelling. And the result, in his eyes, is a nation that chose a much riskier path and is now paying the price for it. And that leaves us with a final, really crucial question to think about. When a political message from an experienced leader just fails to land, is that a failure of the messenger to be persuasive enough? Or is it a reflection of an audience that's just more interested in a different kind of story? It's a fundamental question, really, about how political communication works.